Dr. Arun Nigwekar to deliver the convocation address.
Dr. Sandeep Patspande, the chairperson of the Audyogik Shikshan Mandal, Dr. Asha Patspande, managing trustee and the secretary of Audyogik Shikshan Mandal, my very senior colleague Mr. Anand Sabdeshmukh, the ever enthusiastic and the dynamic director, it is none other than Professor Mathur. All those who have got degrees today, the friends, the parents, the faculty of the institution, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure and privilege to be amongst you on this very happy day when you received the degrees for the good work that you did for the last 2 years. These are the moments in the life of every youth where you transform yourself from the state of a student and then become someone who becomes the part of the total system in a different capacity. I'm saying this because only 3 weeks ago I was in Kanyakumari, the southern and the lowest point of the great India, and I was staying in a hotel. There I met a young girl who had recently done the management course and joined that hotel as the manager for the entire group of the systems that they had. And after she saw who am I think nowadays young people are well connected through Google. She could immediately place me who I was, and then she said, I want to spend a few minutes with you. I said, that is wonderful. Today evening, let us meet. And then the very first question I asked her in the evening was that what is that you are going to do now that having completed your management program and having joined this particular group of hotels, what is the approach and the strategy that you have in mind? And then she told me that I want to be a focal change maker for the entity that is the central point of the development, and that is none other than the human. Now I think it was the most wisest answer I ever heard from a young girl or a young student who was referring to the focal point of the entire development, and that is none other than the human. I think the message is very strong and very clear, because nowadays there are large amount of anxieties and then the aspirations gap that the students find when they join any particular activity or any particular job, or even if they decide to become an entrepreneur of the future. And this girl was talking about development of a human. Now what is the message from that simple straight statement? The message is that for anything that we do, we need to realize that it is the human, and human alone is the most critical component. Because when we talk of growth, when we talk of development, when we talk of achieving the larger economic strengths, or when we talk of social change, for whom all this is being done, it is none other than the human. Now, if it is none other than the human, then one certainly has to look how the human lifestyle has changed. And it certainly has undergone a metamorphic change in the last 2 decades of the 20th century. And when we are in the 21st century, already a decade has passed. So in last 20 to 25 years, the way human looks at development has gone a change. Maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we used to talk that what a human needs is a shelter, food, and clothing. These were the 3 fundamental demands, and if they are met, the human is happy. But no more so. There are many other elements that have merged into the growth of a human entity. It may be Mother Earth, it is security, it is freedom to do what you enjoy, it is freedom to communicate across the world, it is freedom to be legally able to travel from one point of the world to another point of the world. It is freedom to talk about the change, not necessarily for the region where you belong, or not necessarily in a nation where you stay, but it is in totality when you look world as a whole. So there are many dimensions that have emerged into the process of human development. And much more than that, the most critical component that comes into the human development is health, worrying about the environment, and much more than that, being a very straight, honest, professional citizen of the global world. Now, when we start looking from these aspects, several things starts coming into the mind. What do I mean by the world as a whole? What do I mean when I talk about the changes that is happening world over at the end of the 20th century? Or what do I mean by when we talk about a very often used term of knowledge economy? Where do we stand in relation to that? And what does this has link with the proposition, the direction that I intend to carry in my future life? Each of this entity has a direct link with the profession that you would be taking. When we talk about the knowledge economy, it's very simple that one needs to think of using knowledge in a very appropriate, application-oriented strategy for making the human life worth living. And this touches all the aspects that I was talking about. So that's the application of conversion of knowledge into a useful entity that gives the human life the totality of the growth is the link of the knowledge-linked society. But always when one talks about such knowledge-linked society and conversion of a knowledge into an entity, there comes the another merit of the system, and that is the economy. And economy is closely linked with the capacity of any society or any nation to convert knowledge into a tangible entity which brings wealth. We used to talk at earlier ages that the wealth is something which should be used in a very appropriate manner. Today, the definition of wealth has undergone again a change, and it is not necessarily that you create wealth only where you stay or create wealth in a nation where you are, but it is the global transformation process that allows the wealth to grow in different directions. And that's where it is essential not only to understand the place where you stay, but the place where you do business. And it is possible that you may be doing business in some country in Southeast Asia. Now, if it is in the Southeast Asia, I must certainly understand the culture of Southeast Asia. I must also understand the manner in which the human looks at the development when I go to Southeast Asia. And I also must understand the language they speak. If I travel to Canada, I must understand its culture. If I travel to Germany, I must understand the language, the culture, the way they look at the development. And if I travel to China, how do they look at all these aspects in relation to the development process? The point, my youth, I'm trying to make, it's not enough to get confined or locked into the region, the process, the nation where you are. It's very true that one should have roots with the place from where you have born, grown, and picked up opportunity for the future. But it is important for us to understand what is happening globally. It is here the globalization starts coming into the picture. There are two terms which we consistently go on using. One, what is called globalization, and another, what is called internationalization. It's very common to mix these two terms. Globalization has direct link with the profession, and the industry in which you get yourself integrated. But internationalization has a flavor of social growth. It has a flavor of understanding different culture. It has a flavor of understanding human wherever he or she is. Because ultimately it is the human, as I said earlier, is at the center of the development process. So when one starts looking at the future opportunities, one really needs to keep all these aspects into the dimensional strategies that you would like to adopt when you go into the different professions. It is just the beginning that you have done. It is the first step in your career that tomorrow you would be very soon taking. But the beginning is always the most critical transition point in every human's life. Because it is the transition that allows you to think what is good, what is bad, how to learn, how to de-learn, how to communicate, how not to communicate, how to establish link with all those who are either my colleagues or those who are my customers. All these aspects starts becoming critically important. And the most focal point of all this is that you need to remain student lifelong throughout your professional life and even after becoming a senior citizen in the nation that is a great nation. So it's the message of lifelong learning. It is the message of thinking globally without losing the regional and the national context. It is the message of social transformation, not only for the region where you are, not only for the nation where you are, but from a global point of view. And it's the message of distinguishing clearly the differences between the internationalization and the globalization. That is which is going to decide your destiny. I am very certain from the education that you have got in this institution, you are well equipped to accept these difficult challenges and the new dimensions that are emerging in this very open, very transparent and very democratic knowledge-linked society. I would like to congratulate each one of you and would like to wish you best in your life, because as I said, it is just the beginning. Face the life with smile on your face. Face the life with determination and the confidence. You would succeed. Thank you so much. Good luck to each one.